In 1660, Mary Dyer was hanged on Boston Common for defying Puritan laws against Quakers. But how did she go from being condemned as a monster to remembered as a martyr? In her article From Monster to Martyr, Angie Miles explores this dramatic transformation of Mary Dyer's public image. Mary Dyer was born in England, came to Massachusetts in the 1630s, and became associated with Anne Hutchinson during the Antinomian controversy. After returning to England, she converted to Quakerism, a faith deeply threatening to Puritan leaders. Quakers rejected clerical authority and emphasized the inner light. When Dyer repeatedly returned to Massachusetts after being banished, she directly challenged colonial law. As historian Carla Gardina Castana points out in the Quaker executions as myth and history, these laws were designed to preserve Puritan religion and political order, and breaking them was seen as both heresy and treason. Miles shows that the Puritans used the language of monstrosity to depict Dyer. She was linked to monstrous births and portrayed as dangerous to the godly community. This imagery helped justify harsh punishment, turning her body into a symbol of disorder. Puritan pamphlets and court records repeatedly marked Quakers as irrational and disruptive, reinforcing their execution. But Dyer resisted this imposed identity. Through her letters, she re represented herself as a faithful Christian witness rather than a monster. In one of her final letters to the Massachusetts General Court, she declared, quote, I came to keep blood, guiltiness from you, desiring you to repeal your unrighteous laws. I came to do the will of my Father, and in his will I stand. End quote. Jonathan Witzer's study Quieting Mary Dyer shows how this letter framed her defiance as obedience to God, pleading not for herself, but for the principle of religious liberty. By writing and speaking publicly, Dyer claimed authority as a moral subject, directly challenging the silencing of women and dissenters in Puritan society. According to our course guidelines, historians must be honest and objective in their research, and Miles demonstrated this by balancing Puritan records and Quaker testimony, showing how both sides constructed narratives. When Dyer was executed in 1660, the moment was transformed by Quaker narratives. Her death was not just punishment for disobedience, but a testimony of faith. As the Oxford Research Encyclopedia of American History explains, Quaker writers in both England and New England used her story to protest persecution and argue for toleration. In this way, Dyer's body, once framed as monstrous, became a site of sacred witness. Anne Myers concludes that Mary Dyer's shift from monster to martyr shows how contested narratives shape history. Puritan authorities tried to define her as deviant. Her voice, her death, and later Quaker retellings transformed her into a symbol of conscience and resistance. Dyer's story reminds us that power is not only enforced through law, but also through storytelling, and that those labeled as outsiders can reclaim their identities in ways that endure far beyond their lifetimes. Thank you.